You knew I would have to talk about it. I didn't want to wait even a single day. The Fantastic Four trailer is out. Let's talk about it. Had to rock my Ben Grimm shirt today. I don't want to brag, I don't want to flex, but like I've been a hardcore Fantastic Four fan for way longer than any of you new people. Obviously that makes me a far superior comic book fan. If you're looking for recommendations from a superior comic book fan for something that you can watch to get up to speed on the comic books, I did do a Fantastic Four reading order video recently. I'll link that in the description and stuff, so if you want to check it out, go for it. This is just like the most excited about a movie I've been in a long time, but especially because of Ben Grimm's character, especially because of The Thing. The cool thing is I just finished my Marvel Legends display recently, and the last piece of it was getting The Thing recently, so very cool to have this on display right above me on the wall here. The first thing I'm noticing, obviously, is how beautiful the style is. I mean, the way that like the 60s aesthetic with this really futuristic tone is there. It looks like the Jetsons. It's just like so 60s. I love that vibe. I feel like one of the things they're really hammering home here is how this is a family movie. It's about a family of people that may struggle to love each other or have difficulties, but they are going to unite. They're going to have family dinner. They're going to be connected. What's interesting about that to me is that in the past, I feel like a lot of iterations of the Fantastic Four, the other two iterations, I guess there's not like a ton of them, but the other two iterations have felt a lot more like it's a superhero movie first and a family movie second. I do think that the original movies are a little bit better about this. I mean, obviously the 2015 movie has almost nothing going for it. It's a horrible depiction of the team. But if the angle they go with here is that it's a family who's working on being better to each other so they can be a better team, I mean, that's going to make it great. The Baxter Building looks amazing in this. Now, I'm a sucker for the original Baxter Building design, that very like square downtown New York City building. Sometimes it has a 4 on the top, you know, it's designed differently over the years, but I do like this. I think it fits the aesthetic way better of the movie, of the 60s time frame. And honestly, I'm just thrilled to think that there's going to be a proper Baxter Building in a MCU movie. I don't want to spend a ton of time talking about like theories about the plot of this movie, because that's not really what I'm interested in. You know, obviously we're going to see what it is and we're going to find it out when the movie comes out, or maybe when there's another trailer to give us more information. But I am mostly just interested in what we got to see in this and like how it all looks. Herbie looks pretty cool. I don't have a ton of nostalgic attachment to that character, but I still think it's really neat that he's in the movie. It's a great design. I'm interested to see who voices him, because we haven't had confirmation on who that actor or actress is going to be. I feel like it could be any number of people that they've listed on the cast, and it would be cool. So I'm excited about that. It's just cool in general to be into the Fantastic Four with this trailer coming out right after Marvel Rivals put them back at the forefront of like pop culture. Now let's talk for a while. Like I want to waste time in this video talking about The Thing and why that is the thing that I'm the most excited about in this video. First of all, the two other versions of the character that we've ever had in live action, I think are very broken for two reasons. For two separate reasons. They have their own issues case by case, and I'll go through them. So the original Thing, Michael Chiklis version in the 2004 and 2006 movies, is definitely the stronger of the two. It's a clear winner between the two. But I will say that one of the things that holds it back in a big way is that at the beginning it's played entirely for comic relief. It's really played as a joke that he looks like that, and they don't spend as much time as I would like digging into what makes Ben Grimm's character so tragic and so haunted. I think that is like one of the central things that makes the Fantastic Four's family aspect relatable and difficult, is that like the family wants to unite and be together, and 3 of them have cosmetically cool powers. 3 of them have powers that make them objectively more interesting to the public and more like easily branded, and like the public relations aspect is cool. I mean, someone who is a super genius and can stretch their body, but then at any moment can just look like a normal person. Obviously someone who can turn invisible, use force fields, that's very cosmetically cool. And then Johnny's entire character kind of revolves around the fact that he can turn into flame and then go back to being himself. So there's like this aspect to him where his personality comes through as very showy because his power is something very showy. And then obviously our 4th member, Benjamin Grimm, is not able to relate to the public at all. You know, he feels like if he's not being viewed as some sort of like celebrity, he's just viewed as some sort of gross person, some inhuman being. And in the early movies, you know, they play it as a joke, and they don't really dig into like how tormented he would feel. They do a little bit with it when they talk about him getting the rocks kind of off of him and he goes back to being a person. I think it's in the second movie, and that's fine. I think that they do something decent with that, but it's just really cool to see in this movie, in just a couple shots of the trailer, that we are going to go that route. We're gonna see why he is so like down and out, why he's so upset and depressed by who who he has become as a result of the space mission that gave them all their powers. It just occurred to me while filming this that we totally, in my lifetime, in the next couple years, could see the Hulk and the Thing actually fight each other for real, which is crazy. I never thought that would happen in my lifetime in movies. Also, just from a visual interest perspective, the shot in the trailer of Ben in the trench coat and the fedora is so important to me. One thing I'm really happy to have as a comic collector is a full run of the original John Byrne The Thing series, and the way that they dig into that character is really cool. John Byrne does really great work with the Fantastic Four, and his run is considered very legendary, and then his run on The Thing I think is less highly regarded, but is equally good. I don't think that it drops a lot of quality. I think it's a really good run with the character. And that iconic look, it's probably the second most iconic look for The Thing. You know, it's like the blue shorts, and then him in the trench coat and the fedora. After that, it's any other version we've ever seen, including this one where he's wearing a full body suit, which that is probably my only visual criticism of the movie so far, but, you know, part of me is thinking that what they're going to do is he's going to be wearing this sort of 60s spacesuit thing, and then during some sort of climactic final battle, he'll rip the shirt off and fight in just the shorts, and that's how we'll get the reveal of him in just the blue shorts, because that really is, like, the way for that character to be dressed, in my opinion. It's like the Hulk. When you think of the Hulk, you think of ripped purple shorts or pants. And so seeing with the Thing that he's not wearing that right away, I feel like they're going to get to that point. They're going to give us that move. Even though they've never really given us the proper purple pants in the MCU. Proper purple pants. What an interesting sentence. So I'm really, really excited that they're showing the Thing wearing the fedora and the trench coat, and that he's out in the rain, probably on Yancey Street somewhere, and just they're giving us all these pieces of his comics history in just a few shots of the trailer, so I can't imagine what they're going to be doing in the movie. Here's where I want to gripe a little bit about the Thing, and this actually is kind of just a gripe with the trailer in general, which is that it looks so glossy, it looks so 60s, it looks so polished that when the Thing is on screen, like the mouth CGI, the way that he's talking, it's pretty rough. I'm not going to say I hate it. I'm not going to say I dislike it. I'm just going to say that, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they're still working on it, and if this movie, a trailer dropping on the 4th was like a very important deadline, that maybe they're going to kind of iron out the kinks in some of those shots, because it looks a little bit rough, I'm not going to lie. I will say that this is the absolute perfect voice for the Thing. And I'm noticing that, like, Vanessa Kirby and Pedro Pascal are doing a sort of transatlantic accent, 60s American voice, and I think that's an interesting choice. I think it works. I think it fits with the retro aesthetic. I'm a little bit concerned that once these characters are ported over to the main MCU, they're going to feel very out of place, whereas in my mind, like, one of the things that makes the Fantastic Four so interesting in the Marvel Universe is how central they are, how everything tends to kind of orbit them when a large event happens. So if they feel kind of alien and distant, that might make it a little bit weird when they're pretty integral to the upcoming movies, but I'm totally okay with that being my biggest hiccup about the way they talk. I also found it interesting in this teaser trailer that they choose to tell us the origin story of the Fantastic Four with the teaser very quickly and say that, like, we went up a first time, we got our powers, here we are. I know that this is kind of like, it's a metatextual way to address the fact that they're not doing an origin story in this, but I also feel like that's kind of a weird choice, because the point is that, like, we're not getting an origin story, so then giving us one in a teaser trailer just so that they don't have to put it in the movie still feels like they felt like they needed to give us an origin story. It's like if I watch a Spider-Man trailer for a reboot of Spider-Man right now, and it's like, my Uncle Ben got shot after I was bit by a spider. I didn't stop the guy, and I could have, and then he killed my uncle, and so now I fight crime. There'll be no point to that. There'll be no reason to give me the story again. I know that, like, when we talk about things like this, we're talking about, like, oh, the general audience doesn't know. Here's a thing. This is a general point about general audiences when we talk about that stuff. I just don't think that there is such a thing as a general audience who has no idea about this. Like, when you say that, like, oh, well, a general audience member doesn't know the origin of the Fantastic Four. That's true. But I think someone who has no idea who the Fantastic Four are, who's never seen any of the prior movies or heard about them or doesn't know anything about them, isn't in the target audience for this movie. This is not the kind of movie that they need to, like, cold pull people in on. You're kind of gonna go see this movie, or you're not gonna go see this movie. And the people who are will know enough to know that. And when they don't do an intro and an origin story, they're not gonna be like, I had no idea where these characters got their powers. It's like, I mean, I don't know, and maybe that's a biased take from me. That might be the case. I would love to hear your thoughts on that in the comments and stuff. Like, I'm interested in dialoguing about that, because I don't like when movies, especially recent movies, are like, we're skipping the origin story, and it's like, okay, that's great, and they're like, because everybody already knows it, and yet we still need to explain that, like, we're skipping the origin for this reason and that reason. Okay, when the Batman came out, when Matt Reeves' Batman came out, and it didn't have an origin story, I was like, this is great because like I don't need an origin story. Actually, did that movie have an origin story? Am I just stupid? Maybe I'm stupid. Okay, using a different, better example then. Ben Affleck's Batman never had a proper origin story movie. And so he never had like his own movie. He never had one where we had to slog through all of this stuff about him becoming Batman. We already had Batman Begins. We had all the prior Batmans before that. So it's like general audiences knew the story of Batman. And you didn't hear people at the time that was coming out going to see Ben Affleck's Batman and being like, I have no idea like why he's Batman. Where did he come from? What's his origin story? Everybody knows it. And I know the Fantastic Four are less famous than Batman. Don't remind me. But I just feel like it's kind of weird that they put that in the trailer because like, yeah, we know we're going to see the movie because we don't need an origin story. We're excited about it. Okay, back to positives. I thought that the force fields used by Invisible Woman look awesome. I think the visual effect is perfect. It's a real challenge to do this in a movie like this because you want it to feel grounded. You want it to feel scientific. You want it to feel real. But also like one of the other people on the team is a giant rock monster. So there's going to have some sort of fantasy element, something ridiculous. And then also you want it to feel real. And I felt like the really brief shots we got of Sue using her powers work really well. I think it's really cool to kind of give this air distortion effect, sort of a light halo. And yeah, I'm really excited to see her character. I mean, objectively speaking, this is something that's been in some online discourse the last couple months. And I think that this is like very relevant to a movie like this, obviously, is which member of the Fantastic Four is, in terms of power scaling, objectively the most powerful. And even though when you first think of it, you think, okay, well, you know, Ben is able to lift an enormous amount of weight. He's able to, you know, whatever. Like he's got almost no upward bound on like his strength and stuff like that. I mean, that's not strictly true, but he's an incredibly strong person. Maybe he's powerful, but it's like we've seen him knocked down. We've seen him really, you know, on his ass in the comics plenty of times. Johnny, I think, easily the weakest. He can obviously go to incredible heats, but it's like heat and flying are two superpowers, and there are a lot of comparable superheroes and supervillains out there that could challenge that. Reed might be a contender for the most powerful because he's the most intelligent. His physical capabilities are one thing, but his intelligence puts him in the top, you know, Illuminati level of danger and influence in the Marvel Universe. But then it's like, objectively speaking, Sue is able to conjure impenetrable force fields at will at, as far as we know, any distance from her body. So if you are standing in front of her and she wants to kill you, she can just put a force field around your brain and you just die immediately, right? So there's this like, there's a huge level of power there that on screen, you know, there's been very few characters that we've had that have had like that level of insane power. This is like a Loki or like a god level power, I would say. And so very cool to see that. Hopefully they're going to do a lot with her character to highlight that, talk about how powerful she is. And then also like in the family aspect, talk about how integral she is. She's always kind of been the backbone of the family, always the one that is making strides to make sure everybody is getting along and working together. There's one shot in this trailer, going back to talking about the Thing for a second before we get to the big guy, the reason I made this video. But there's one shot in the trailer I thought was really, really, really cool. And that's the shot where the three kids are looking up to the sky. Two of them have on Benjamin Grimm, the Thing masks that they're pulling up, and one of them is wearing, or two of them are wearing, a shirt that has a Jack Kirby illustration of the Thing on it. I thought this is cool for two reasons. One, Jack Kirby artwork in the movie. That's incredible. Secondly, though, this fits in with something that always gets neglected when it comes to the Fantastic Four. Even in comic runs, you see this get neglected, which is that in universe, part of what makes them interesting is that they are a brand and a company that is marketed to and sold to the people of New York City and the world. So in the world of Marvel Comics, they are also stars of a comic book in universe. This is something that like I think should really be capitalized on more in things like the MCU. Talk about how like in universe the characters are in comic books. It gives you a reason to do all kinds of like comic canon fun stuff and talk about like the influence of the characters and all that. But in the comics, they've sold their likeness to Marvel. They work with them. They make comic books. And so it's really, really cool to see in this that we're seeing people wear Fantastic Four merchandise. And that happens, you know, right away in the trailer. Like people are clearly excited about them going to space. And there's a fan community around them in the universe of the movie. I think that's really, really cool. I think it's a part of the Fantastic Four's lore and backstory that we've been missing for a long time. Very briefly, let's touch on the fact that John Malkovich does make like a 1-second appearance in this trailer. I don't know who he's playing. flying. I really hope it's Puppet Master. That has been my dream, is that he plays Puppet Master. He's a really good casting for that role if that's who it is, but it could be anybody. There's a number of different characters he could be playing. Regardless, I just think it's cool. To me, this feels like Christopher Walken playing the Emperor in Dune. Like, it's just such a weird, kind of out-of-the-box casting choice to bring an established actor who has somewhat of like a joke or a meme around their personality. There's somebody who is kind of known for being themselves, like a Jeff Goldblum or something, right? Bringing them in and having them play a role in this, I think is really neat. And so I'm very excited to see John Malkovich in this. All right, though. This is it. This is the big guns. This is the moment that matters the most. Galactus. Nothing matters to me in comic books, in movies, in anything more than Galactus. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If my apartment were burning down right now, I would grab one thing before I ran out the door, and that is this. This is by Alex Ross, timeless Galactus cover, signed by Alex Ross in a 9.8. This is my prized possession. I love Galactus. He's right behind me on the wall here in the Timeless Villains mural. I have a whole bunch of artwork of Galactus on my walls, an art print right above my desk, and for years, like truly years, I've been looking for the giant Galactus Funko Pop, but not the one that's glow in the dark and neon colors. I want the Galactus and Silver Surfer in their original colors, the normal one. Because I want to put that on my wall somewhere as a central part of my display because it looks sick. Obviously, yes, the HasLab Galactus toy is the holy grail. It's the most, I'll never own it in my life action figure, but in place of it, I've tried to find the Funko Pop one. I've loved Galactus forever. Like, in my mind, there's no character created by Jack Kirby that is a cooler design and a more imposing presence than Galactus. He has so much interesting lore about him, but just enough that you're always curious to know more about him. I love Galactus. He's so cool, and they messed him up so bad in the second original Fantastic Four movie. So when in this trailer, it shows the back of his helmet looking down on the Statue of Liberty, and it's the exact scale and size for him to be in New York City, I was just so thrilled. I was so excited, and I still am. When the original Fantastic Four teaser trailer footage leaked from Comic-Con a couple months ago, my favorite shot of that was easily that 1 second moment where Galactus' eyes just come level with a window in the Baxter Building, because to me, not only was it a cool design, but it also indicated that they're doing the thing correct with Galactus that is very hard to do, which is make him about the size of a really tall building. Part of what makes Galactus imposing is that he's not like so gigantic that he holds an entire planet between two fingers. A lot of artists depict him that way because it's an easy shortcut to making him look so like Lovecraftian and gigantic and incomprehensibly large. But in Jack and Stan's original run of Fantastic Four, he's just like a really, really big guy on Earth. And I know that you can scale him up and you can have all sorts of mechanics that allow him to be bigger when he's kind of outside the atmosphere of the Earth. But for me, just setting him at city scale is actually the coolest way to show Galactus. Especially because if he's going to devour the entire planet, you need it to feel like something that happens over the course of time. Like he lands and he begins consuming the planet from that spot. If he's so big that he can eat it like a chip, to me at least, it's just way less interesting. I'm going to keep an eye out for more information about this movie. I'm going to be hot on the trail of everything. Like I said, if you would like to read my Fantastic Four reading order, my recommendations list, I'll put it in the description. But I guess until we hear more, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.